Tonight, Barack Obama fires back.
If George Bush and John McCain want to have a debate about protecting the United States of America, that is a debate that I'm happy to have any time, any place.
I'm Katie Couric. Also tonight, the NFL's Spygate scandal. Patriots coach Bill Belichick breaks his silence in an exclusive CBS News interview.
People have said you flat out cheated. What do you say to those people?
What I've said to you, I told you the truth.
Why are government workers going to Hawaii to learn how Congress works and you're paying for it? We'll follow the money. And Steve Hartman goes to the prom, the senior prom. Tonight's Assignment America.
This is the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric.
Good evening, everyone. They double-teamed him, and today Barack Obama took them both on, President Bush and John McCain. After the president suggested Obama would appease terrorists and dictators, and McCain called him naive, Obama fired back. Looking like the Democratic nominee he is favored to be, Obama accused the president of fear-mongering and called McCain's foreign policy irresponsible. It's only May in this campaign, but it's beginning to feel like October. Here's Dean Reynolds.
It was one of the most pugnacious speeches Barack Obama has ever given.
If George Bush and John McCain want to have a debate about protecting the United States of America, that is a debate that I'm happy to have any time, any place, and that is a debate that I will win.
Obama blasted Bush and McCain as a deceitful and fear-mongering pair without answers for the Iraq War or the resurgence of Iran and the terrorist groups Al-Qaeda, Hamas, and Hezbollah.
That's the Bush-McCain record on protecting this country. Those are the failed policies that John McCain wants to double down on.
Obama, who favors talks with America's friends and most dangerous foes, was angered by what he took as a presidential swipe on Thursday.
Some seem to believe that we should negotiate with the terrorists and radicals as if some ingenious argument will persuade them they have been wrong all along.
Bush called it appeasement. Obama called that appalling.
The American people have had enough of the division and the bluster. Both Bush and McCain represent the failed foreign policy and fear-mongering of the past.
Obama called McCain a hypocrite for backing Bush and pointed to an earlier statement McCain had made about Hamas, which runs the Gaza Strip.
They're the government, and sooner or later we're going to have to deal with them in one way or another.
Today, McCain clarified
that I do not and would not sit down and negotiate with terrorist organizations, and never have.
The Republicans have made Obama a big target in the last week. Today, speaker after speaker went after him at the National Rifle Association's convention.
Because, frankly, that was Barack Obama. He just tripped off a chair. He's getting ready to speak, and somebody aimed a gun at him, and he dove for the floor.
Now, remember, the Democrats have not yet selected their nominee, but the Republicans are acting and sounding an awful lot like they know who he is already. Katie?
Dean Reynolds. Dean, thank you very much. Meanwhile, Democrats have been goading President Bush to ask the Saudis to pump more oil to get the price down. Today he did, and they won't. And the price of oil closed at yet another record high, $126.29 a barrel. Bill Plant is with the president in Riyadh.
Despite a face-to-face appeal today, Saudi Arabia turned down President Bush's request to pump more oil. The second time that's happened in 5 months. The Saudis say they will increase production only when demand goes up.
If there is a customer that needs additional crude, please come and ask for it.
The White House downplayed the Saudi decision, saying high gas prices are caused more by market uncertainties and lack of refinery capacity than by a shortage of crude. The Saudis argue they just increased production by 3% last week. Administration officials say the president wanted to be sure the Saudis were doing all they could. The administration also announced that it is suspending oil deliveries into the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, the nation's emergency stockpile of oil. The president opposes cutting off deliveries to the reserve, but the public is angry about gas prices. And administration officials tell CBS News Mr. Bush will sign the bill to stop filling the reserve, even though they don't expect it to make even a nickel's worth of difference in the price of gas.
Katie?
Bill Plant traveling with the president in Riyadh tonight. Bill, thank you. Also overseas, the numbers are really hard to fathom. Myanmar's government said today 135,000 people are dead or missing since the cyclone hit nearly 2 weeks ago. And heavy rain is hampering efforts to help survivors. More foreign relief was flown in today. The United States plans 5 more flights this weekend, but Myanmar is still not allowing American aid workers in. Meanwhile, China is uncharacteristically reaching out for international aid as the search continues for victims of Monday's earthquake. 10 survivors were pulled from the rubble today, including a man who had been trapped inside a fertilizer plant, but they are the exceptions. Celia Hatton is in China, and we caution you, some of the images in her report are quite graphic.
It is death on such a vast scale that in this central Chinese town, everyone's wearing face masks to cope with the stench of corpses. 225 people were killed in this school collapse. 100 more are still buried in the rubble. The school's playground has been turned into a makeshift morgue. Parents file past the corpses, praying they won't recognize the children lying before them. Mrs. Wong has carried out this grim ritual for 4.5 days.
It's absolutely heartbreaking for the parents on the schoolyard to be just waiting and watching. There's very little they can do as corpses are just brought out of the school one by one about every half hour.
And every time a body is brought out, the parents gather around, dreading that moment when they see the face of the only child they are allowed to have under China's strict family planning policies. This mother doesn't want to believe it's her daughter lying on the ground. Can you look at her earrings, her socks? She pleads with the rescuers, until finally she acknowledges the terrible truth. Many of these parents are poor farmers who spent their life savings to ensure the best possible education for their sons and daughters. And now, as their children are carried away in body bags, the parents left behind to mourn have nothing left to lose. Celia Hatton, CBS News, Hanwang, China.
Now to the upcoming Beijing Olympics. A South African runner who doesn't have legs will be allowed to compete for a spot in the Games this summer. 21-year-old Oscar Pistorius runs on special blades. Some say they give him an unfair advantage, but today an international tribunal ruled they don't, and he is in fact eligible. Pistorius lost both legs as a child because of a birth defect. And there is much more CBS News ahead. Up next, working for the government isn't exactly a day at the beach, or is it? With the slow economy and high energy prices, a lot of Americans are cutting back these days on vacation travel. At the same time, their tax dollars are paying to send government workers to all kinds of relaxing locales. Cheryl Atkinson follows the money.
Farming and food are the focus of the U.S. Department of Agriculture. And USDA employees have been doing an awful lot of work in the field, but not the kind you may be thinking about. We're talking field trips to conferences at popular resorts and exotic locations around the world, all at taxpayer expense. According to a new congressional report obtained by CBS News, in 2006 alone, 21,000 USDA employees attended 6,000 conferences around the world, 94 in Vegas, 59 near Disney World, and 28 in Hawaii. They went to the Virgin Islands to study preventing pollution in the Caribbean. And one lucky USDA employee went halfway around the world to attend a conference in Australia at the Surfers Paradise Resort. The subject matter, Mississippi crayfish. It could have been studied closer to home, but the waves aren't as good in the bayou. From 2000 to 2006, USDA spent an astonishing $90 million tax dollars on conferences. Many of them appear to be on productive topics, but Senator Tom Coburn says far too many are not. He helped lead the investigation into all that spending.
Would you ever spend that kind of money on yourself if, in fact, you had a tight budget and if you were borrowing what money you didn't have from your grandkids? Nobody in their right mind would do that.
The new farm bill just passed by Congress requires USDA to post on the web all the conferences it attends and sponsors. The idea is the risk of public disclosure and embarrassment might curb the lavish travel. The USDA told us they recently reviewed and revised their policies to help contain expenses and that conferences can have a tremendous public benefit. But what about the 6 USDA employees who went to learn how Congress works? They didn't go right up the street to the Capitol, where Congress meets most every day. They traveled 4,500 miles for a conference at the Hilton Resort and Spa in Honolulu. Cheryl Atkinson, CBS News, Washington.
In health news, we're learning more and more about the importance of vitamin D. A new study says women with low levels of it are more likely to die of breast cancer or have it spread. It's not clear whether vitamin D can prevent the disease. To find out more, including the best ways to get vitamin D, go to cbsnews.com and click on CBS Evening News to watch my conversation with our medical correspondent, Dr. John LaPook. Still ahead, how some tourist attractions are trying to turn high gas prices to their advantage. Eye on the Road is next. Day by day, penny by penny, the price of gas is closing in on $4 a gallon. We're measuring the impact in our Eye on the Road series. Jeff Glore and Nancy Cordes have been driving cross-country in opposite directions, and today they finally met up in Independence, Missouri. Hey, Nancy and Jeff.
Hey, Katie. Independence, Missouri is the birthplace of Harry Truman. You can see his statue behind us. And here's a bit of trivia for you. Back when Truman was president, gasoline cost a whopping 21 cents a gallon.
Transportation correspondent and presidential historian. Very impressive here. When we left on Monday, the national average was $3.72. It's now $3.79. And a lot has happened in those 5 days.
Our team began out west, where tall gas prices mean short vacations. Just look at Mike Morrissey. He packed up the RV and drove a whole 3 miles away from home this year.
I haven't taken a long trip since we had the big gas thing.
After leaving New York's Central Park, our first stop was Pennsylvania's Hershey Park. One of those regional attractions that's banking on Americans staying closer to home this summer.
We're a tanker or less away for 60 million people.
But the food industry may be feeling the pinch more painfully than anyone. At Kennedy's Bakery in Cambridge, Ohio, they're paying 3 times more for flour than they did last year.
You can't raise prices enough.
No, I can't. I mean, to keep, or else I'm going to lose all the customers.
In Nevada, at least the leftover ingredients are put to good use. We witnessed the rise of veggie vehicles, converted engines that run on grease.
Here comes the grease, Coleman.
This restaurant owner cooks the fries, then juices up his Jetta, 40 miles a gallon.
I have to say that there's a certain empowering moment every time you flip the switch inside the car to go to grease.
There were no free rides in Kansas, where Junction City's car culture is running on empty.
Okay.
These popular gas guzzlers used to hit the dirt track 6 nights a week. That's now down to 1.
The racers, the racetrack, were just surviving.
Our cameraman could see the sticker shock as well. His SUV used $590 worth of gas to get halfway across the country. That's almost 30 cents per mile, while my Ford Fusion costs less than 16 cents per mile, and Jeff's hybrid Toyota Prius, less than 10 cents.
And that's despite the fact that Jeff was paying more per gallon on the West Coast than we were on the East Coast. Team Glore, however, is forcing me to report that they actually drove 570 more miles than we did.
I think it's 571 if you round up, Nancy.
It's all a competition with you guys.
All a competition with us. A couple other numbers, Katie, for you. 1 dented side door, 1 parking ticket, 1 speeding ticket, and 56 cheeseburgers consumed.
Wow, that's impressive. 56 cheeseburgers. All right, you guys, thank you so much for the week-long series, and drive safely home.
Thank you, Katie.
See you later.
All right, see you later. Coming up next, Steve Hartman would like to take you to the senior prom. Finally tonight, this of course is prom season, and high schools have all kinds of prom traditions. We especially like the one they have at a school Steve Hartman visited for tonight's Assignment America.
They'd been looking forward to this for months.
both the seniors.
As always, we're going to have an awesome night.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of fun.
And the seniors.
Oh, that's my prom night. I love it. They have an enormous amount of food.
Aren't you a little old to be going to prom?
Yes, sir, but I enjoy it.
For the last 6 years, the kids from Washington High School in Washington, Missouri have been inviting the senior citizens from their community to join them at prom.
Oh man, you are groovy.
Megan Woods couldn't imagine prom any other way.
I love it. I did it last year and it was so fun.
You're not just saying that?
No, I actually love it. Like, this is what I look forward to every year. Sir, would you be up to dance with me?
Here, the high school girls ask the senior gentlemen to dance.
Oh, thank you.
And of course, vice versa.
Young boys get you out and dance. Oh yeah.
Wow.
It's really cool.
The young guys.
That's who you want to dance with?
Full of energy.
Okay, settle down.
They come here from nursing homes, assisted living centers, even neighboring towns. 70-year-old Reba Wittenborn, who left her husband at home, says this is much better than her prom ever was. Although the boys don't dance as well.
Can we do this? They just go back and forth and you gotta throw them loose balls. Push them around a little
somebody
bit.
check the punch, please.
Others, like prom king Charlie Frazier, never got to go to their prom.
I probably didn't even have a suit I could wear, and while I couldn't do it that many years ago, this is, oh gosh, with what I'm doing now, you can't top that. You ladies know that I drive a red Mustang.
Do you?
Together they laughed and partied until the wee hour of 9:30. You know, when you see young and old mixing like this, you realize how much we normally segregate ourselves by age. And by doing so, how much fun we miss out on.
There they are. Anyone 50 or older is eligible to go to the senior prom. So, Katie, if next year you're not doing anything, you might want to go check it out.
I'm looking forward to that in 15 years. Thank you very much, Steve. Meanwhile, Charlie is quite the flirt, and
Yes.
you've got to love those kids.
Oh, the kids were such sweethearts. I could not believe, even the boys were so good at asking the ladies and the girls asking the guys.
Even though they weren't such great dancers, as that one lady pointed out.
Right.
Anyway, tell us about next week.
Okay, next week. Next week, we'll meet a man whose childhood train set is all grown up, just like he is. Until then, if you've got a story idea, tell me about it by going to cbsnews.com and clicking on Assignment America.
And you have fun at that prom next year, rather.
5 years I got,
Yeah,
but
all right.
wait for me.
All right, Steve, thanks very much. And that is the CBS Evening News for tonight. I'm Katie Couric in New York. Thank you for watching this week. I'll see you again on Monday. Until then, have a great weekend. Good night.